The rusted chain of the second-hand bike squeaked under my weight, mocking me with every turn of the pedals. I was 25, pedaling through the humid coastal air of our small California town, while my younger sister, Lila, twirled the keys to her brand-new beach housea graduation gift from our parents. The injustice burned hotter than the June sun, and by the time I reached that gleaming glass and wood mansion, I knew the truth I'd buried for years was about to erupt. I wasn't supposed to be here. Not today. Not ever. The bikea scratched. Faded relic from a garage sale was my gift for my own college graduation 2 years ago, while Lila, the golden child, got a house worth $500,000 for her art degree. You're practical, Emma, Mom had said, her voice dripping with that patronizing tone she reserved for me. Lila needs a place to inspire her creativity. Practical. That word had been my cage since childhood, chaining me to a life of overlooked effort while Lila danced through hers, showered with praise and privilege. I propped the bike against the beach house's sleek fence, my hands trembling. The house loomed like a monument to my parents' favoritism, its floor-to-ceiling windows reflecting the ocean sparkle. Lila's laughter floated from the open door, mingling with the clink of champagne glasses. She was already hosting a party, her friends spilling onto the deck, their carefree chatter a stark contrast to the storm brewing in my chest. I'd come to confront her, to demand answers. But as I stepped inside, I saw Mom and Dad too, beaming at Lila like she'd hung the moon. My resolve hardened. This wasn't just about a house or a bike. This was about a lifetime of being second best. Emma. Lila's voice was syrupy, her smile too wide as she spotted me. You made it. Isn't this place amazing? She gestured to the house, her blonde hair catching the light like she was the star of her own movie. At 23, she radiated confidence, her art school charm polished to perfection. I, on the other hand, felt like a smudge in her spotlight tall. Plain. My brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. My jeans scuffed from the bike ride. Amazing. I echoed, my voice flat. A graduation gift. Right. Must be nice. The room quieted, heads turning. Mom's smile faltered, and Dad's brow furrowed. But Lila just laughed, oblivious to the edge in my tone. Oh, come on, Em. Don't be jealous. You love that bike, don't you? Her words were a dagger, twisting in the wound of years spent swallowing my resentment. I could have let it go, could have walked away like I always did. But not today. Not when the truth I discovered last night buried in a box of old family papers was burning a hole in my heart. Lila, I said, stepping closer, my voice low but steady. You don't even know what you've taken from me. But you're about to. Her smile wavered, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of unease in her eyes. Mom stepped forward, her hand outstretched as if to stop me. But I wasn't her obedient daughter anymore. I was done being practical. The papers I'd found were from a lawyer's office, dated just before my high school graduation. They weren't just any documents, they were about me. About a trust fund set up by my late grandmother, meant for my future. A trust fund my parents had never mentioned. A trust fund that, according to the fine print, had been quietly redirected to Lila's name when she turned 18. It wasn't just about money, it was about betrayal. About years of being sidelined while Lila was propped up as the family's pride and joy. I didn't say any of this yet. I wanted them to squirm, to feel the weight of their choices. Let's talk about gifts, I said, my voice cutting through the party's hum. You gave Lila a beach house. You gave me a used bike. Care to explain why? The question hung in the air, sharp and heavy. Dad's face reddened, and Mom looked away, her hands twisting together. Lila's friends exchanged awkward glances, sensing the shift in the room. Emma, this isn't the place, Dad said, his voice gruff, the same tone he used when I was a kid asking for too much. But I wasn't a kid anymore, and I wasn't asking. I was demanding. No, Dad. This is exactly the place. I turned to Lila, who was clutching her champagne flute like a lifeline. You think you earned this. You think you're the only one who deserves it. My voice trembled, not with fear, but with the fury of years spent silent. I found the papers. Lila, I know what they did. The room went silent. The only sound, the distant crash of waves. Lila's eyes widened, and Mom gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Dad took a step toward me, but I held my ground. What are you talking about? Lila asked, her voice small for the first time in years. I'm talking about Grandma's trust fund, I said, each word deliberate. The one meant for me. The one you've been living off without a clue. The truth landed like a bomb, and I saw it in their faces: guilt, shock, fear. This was just the beginning. They thought they could bury their secrets, but I was about to dig them up and let the world see. The air in the beach house felt thick, charged with the weight of my accusation. Lila's champagne flute slipped from her fingers, shattering on the hardwood floor, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Her friends froze, their eyes darting between us. But I didn't care about the audience. This was between me, my sister, and the parents who'd played favorites for too long. Emma, stop this, Mom pleaded, her voice cracking. You don't understand. I understand enough. I snapped, cutting her off. I found the documents. Mom, Grandma's trust fund was for me $200,000 for my education, my future. But you and Dad gave it to Lila. For what? This house. Her parties. I gestured at the opulent room, the sleek furniture, the view of the ocean that screamed money. Money that should have been mine. Lila's face paled, her usual confidence crumbling. That's not true, she whispered, but her voice lacked conviction. She looked at Dad, her eyes pleading for him to fix this, like he always did for her. But Dad just stood there, his jaw tight, his hands clenched into fists. Emma, you're blowing this out of proportion, he said, his tone clipped. We made decisions for the family. For both of you. For both of us. I laughed. A bitter, hollow sound. You gave me a used bike. Dad. A bike. While Lila got a house. How is that for both of us? My voice rose. Years of pent-up frustration spilling out. I could feel the eyes of Lila's friends on me. But I didn't care. Let them see the truth. Let them see the family we really were. Mom stepped forward, her eyes glistening with tears. We didn't mean to hurt you, Emma. We thought Lila needed it more. She's sensitive, creative. You're so strong, so independent. Stop it, I shouted, my voice shaking the room. Stop making excuses for treating me like I don't matter. I worked hard. I got straight A's. Paid my way through college with loans and part-time jobs while you bankrolled Lila's every whim. And now I find out you stole from me to do it. The word stole hit them like a slap. Mom flinched, and Dad's face darkened. Lila, though, looked like she'd been punched. I didn't know, she said, her voice barely audible. I swear. Emma, I didn't know. Didn't know? I turned on her, my anger a living thing now. You didn't know you were living a life I was supposed to have. You didn't notice I was scraping by while you were handed everything. I took a step closer, and she backed away, her eyes wide. You never asked why, Lila. You just took. The room was suffocating, the weight of their guilt and my rage pressing down on us all. One of Lila's friends, a guy with a man bun and a concerned frown, tried to intervene. Hey, maybe we should all calm down. Stay out of this. I snapped, not even looking at him. This wasn't about them. This was about the family that had betrayed me, the sister who'd basked in their favoritism without a second thought. Dad finally spoke, his voice low and dangerous. Emma, you're crossing a line. We did what we thought was best. You don't get to come in here and ruin your sister's moment. My sister's moment. I laughed again, the sound raw and jagged. What about my moments? Dad, what about my graduation? My achievements? You barely showed up for me. But for Lila, you throw a party and hand her a house. I pulled the folded papers from my pocket, the ones I'd found in the attic last night, and held them up like a weapon. These say Grandma wanted me to have a future. You took that from me. Mom's tears spilled over now, and she reached for me, but I stepped back. Emma, please. We can talk about this. We can fix it. Fix it. I shook my head, my voice dropping to a whisper. You can't fix a lifetime of choosing her over me, but you're going to answer for it. I turned to Lila, who was trembling now, her perfect facade cracked. And you, Lila, you're going to hear the rest of it. Because this isn't just about money. It's about who we are. I paused, letting the words sink in. The truth I'd uncovered wasn't just about the trust fund. There was more, something darker. Something that would shatter the perfect image of our family once and for all. I'd found letters, too, tucked away with the legal documents. Letters from Grandma to Mom, warning her about fairness, about not repeating the mistakes of the past. Letters that hinted at a secret about Lila, one I wasn't even sure I could say out loud yet. Emma, Lila said, her voice breaking. What are you going to do? I looked at her, at the sister I'd once loved despite everything, and felt a pang of something like pity. But it wasn't enough to stop me. I'm going to make sure everyone knows the truth, I said, starting with you. The beach house felt like a stage, and I was the director of a play no one wanted to see. Lila's friends began to slip out, murmuring excuses, their footsteps soft against the hardwood as they fled the tension. I didn't blame them. The truth I was about to unleash wasn't just a family secret, it was a wrecking ball. And I was ready to swing. Emma, please, Mom said again, her voice a desperate whisper. Let's talk privately. Not like this. Her eyes darted to the remaining guests, then back to me, pleading. But privacy was a luxury they'd lost when they chose to hide the truth. No, I said, my voice steady now, fueled by a clarity I hadn't felt in years. You don't get to control this anymore. You've controlled enough. I held up the papers again, the creased edges trembling slightly in my hand. These aren't just about the trust fund. There's more. And you all need to hear it. Lila sank onto a sleek white couch, her hands covering her face. Emma, I didn't ask for this, she said, her voice muffled. I didn't know about any trust fund. I thought. She trailed off. And for a moment, I saw the little girl she used to be, the one who'd followed me around, begging to play. But that girl was gone, replaced by someone who'd taken everything I was owed without a second thought. You thought what? Lila, I asked, my tone softer but no less sharp. That you deserved it all. That I didn't. I turned to Mom and Dad, who stood frozen, their faces a mix of guilt and defiance. Or did you think I'd never find out? That I'd just keep being the good daughter, the one who never complains? Dad's jaw tightened. Emma, you're twisting this. We didn't steal anything. We made a choice. A choice. I cut him off, my voice rising again. You chose to lie to me. You chose to take what Grandma left for me and give it to Lila. And you chose to keep something else from me, didn't you? I pulled out the second piece of paper. Not a legal document, but a letter, written in Grandma's elegant cursive. The words had seared themselves into my mind last night, each one a revelation that changed everything. What's that? Lila asked, her voice small, her eyes locked on the letter. I didn't answer her directly. Instead, I looked at Mom, whose face had gone ashen. You want to tell her, Mom? Or should I? The room was so quiet I could hear the distant gulls outside, their cries sharp against the silence. Mom shook her head, tears streaming down her face. But she didn't speak. Dad's hands were shaking now, and I knew I had them cornered. Fine, I said, unfolding the letter. Grandma wrote this to you, Mom, a year before she died. She warned you about favoring Lila. She said it would tear us apart. But there's something else in here. Something you never told us. I paused, my heart pounding. This was the moment I'd been dreading. The one I wasn't sure I could face. But I had to. For me. For the truth. Emma. Don't. Mom whispered. But her voice was weak. Defeated. I ignored her and read aloud. My voice steady despite the storm inside me. I know about Lila's father. I began, quoting Grandma's words. I know he's not David. You can't keep this from Emma forever. She deserves to know her sister is only her half-sister. The words hung in the air, heavy and final, like a door slamming shut. Lila gasped, her hands dropping from her face. What? She whispered, her eyes darting to Mom and Dad. What does that mean? Dad's face was a mask of fury now, but he didn't deny it. Mom was sobbing, her hands pressed to her mouth. I kept going, the letter trembling in my hands. You've always favored Lila because of your guilt. I read. But Emma is your daughter too, and she's paying the price for your secrets. The room spun around me, the weight of the truth pressing down. Lila wasn't just my sister, she was my half-sister. Mom had an affair, and Dad, who I'd always thought was my rock, wasn't Lila's father. The trust fund, the beach house, the favoritism, it all made sense now. They'd been overcompensating for their guilt, pouring everything into Lila to make up for the lie they'd lived. Emma, Lila said, her voice breaking. Is this true? She looked at Mom, then Dad, her eyes wide with shock. Is he not my dad? Mom's sobs grew louder, and Dad finally spoke, his voice hoarse. Lila, we love you. That's what matters. We didn't want you to know, but you let me pay for it. I shouted, cutting him off. You let me suffer so you could protect your secret. You gave her everything, Grandma's money, this house, because you felt guilty. And I got nothing. Lila was crying now, her perfect makeup streaking down her face. I didn't know, she said again, her voice raw. Emma, I swear, I didn't know. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe she wasn't part of their deception. But the hurt was too deep. The years of being pushed aside too raw. Maybe you didn't, I said, my voice cold. But you never questioned it. Lila, you never cared enough to ask why I was always left behind. The truth was out now, and there was no going back. The beach house, once a symbol of Lila's triumph, felt like a tomb, burying the family we used to be. But I wasn't done. There was more to say, more to uncover. And I wasn't leaving until every secret was laid bare. The beach house was no longer a celebration. It was a battlefield, littered with the wreckage of our family's lies. Lila's sobs filled the air, her hands clutching the edge of the couch as if it could anchor her against the truth I'd just unleashed. Mom was a wreck, her face buried in her hands, while Dad stood rigid, his eyes burning with a mix of shame and defiance. I felt no triumph, only a hollow ache where our family used to be. Emma, why are you doing this? Lila asked, her voice raw, her eyes searching mine for something, mercy, maybe, or the sisterly bond we'd lost long ago. Why now? Because I'm done, I said, my voice low but firm. I'm done pretending everything's fine. I'm done letting you all act like I don't exist. I held up Grandma's letter, its words a lifeline to the truth I'd been denied. This isn't just about the trust fund or the house. It's about a lifetime of being invisible while you were put on a pedestal. Dad took a step toward me, his hands raised as if to calm a wild animal. Emma, we made mistakes. Okay. But tearing us apart like this won't fix anything. Fix anything? I laughed. A sharp, bitter sound. You think I'm trying to fix this? You broke it. Dad. You and Mom broke it when you lied to me. When you gave Lila everything and left me with scraps. I turned to Lila, who was still crying, her perfect world crumbling around her. And you, Lila. You might not have known about the trust fund or your dad, but you knew how they treated me. You saw it, and you never said a word. Lila shook her head, her voice breaking. I didn't think it was my fault. I thought you were okay with it. Okay with it. I stared at her, incredulous. I was surviving. Lila, I worked 2 jobs in college, lived in a crappy apartment, and paid off loans you'll never have to worry about. And you thought I was okay. The words tasted like venom, but they needed to be said. For too long, I'd swallowed my pain to keep the peace. No more. Mom finally spoke, her voice trembling. Emma, we didn't mean to hurt you. We thought we were doing what was best for both of you. Lila, she needed more support. She's always been so fragile. Fragile? I snapped, turning on her. She's not fragile, Mom. She's spoiled. You made her that way. And you made me feel like I had to be strong, like I didn't deserve the same love. My voice cracked, and I hated it. Hated the vulnerability creeping in. But I couldn't stop now. Grandma saw it. She knew you were favoring Lila because of your guilt. That's why she left me the trust fund to give me a chance you never did. Dad's face softened, just for a moment, and I saw something like regret in his eyes. Emma, we didn't know how much it hurt you. We thought you were fine, that you didn't need. Didn't need what? I interrupted, my voice rising. A family. A future. You took both from me when you gave Lila my trust fund. And you lied about her father to protect yourselves. Not her. I looked at Lila, who was staring at the floor, her shoulders shaking. Did you ever wonder why they treated us so differently? Did you ever think it was wrong? She didn't answer, and that silence was answer enough. She'd known, on some level, that our parents' favoritism wasn't fair. But she'd basked in it, never questioning, never challenging. And that hurt almost as much as the betrayal itself. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. There was one more piece to this puzzle. One more secret I'd uncovered in Grandma's letters. It wasn't just about Lila's father or the trust fund. It was about why Mom had the affair in the first place. Why she'd felt trapped enough to risk everything. Grandma's letters hinted at a marriage strained by Dad's controlling nature. By years of Mom feeling like she had to prove herself. It wasn't an excuse, but it was a piece of the truth I needed to understand. Mom, I said, my voice quieter now. Why did you do it? Why did you have the affair? The question hung in the air, raw and exposed. Lila's head snapped up, her eyes wide with shock. Dad's face went white, and Mom let out a choked sob. Emma, don't. Mom whispered, but there was no strength left in her voice. She looked at Dad, then at Lila, then back at me, her eyes pleading for me to stop. But I couldn't. Not now. Tell me, I said, my voice steady. Tell us. Because Grandma knew, and she thought I deserved to know too. Mom's shoulders slumped, and she sank into a chair, her face a mask of pain. It was a mistake, she said, her voice barely audible. Your father, he was always so focused on work, on providing. I felt alone. And then I met someone. And it just happened. She looked at Lila, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry. Lila, I never meant for you to find out like this. Lila was silent, her eyes fixed on Mom, her expression a mix of hurt and confusion. I wanted to feel sorry for her, but the anger was still too raw, too fresh. And you thought giving her my trust fund would make up for it? I asked, my voice cold. You thought a beach house would erase what you did? It wasn't like that, Dad said, his voice rough. We wanted to give Lila a stable life. We didn't want her to feel different. But you made me feel different, I said, turning on him. You made me feel like I wasn't enough. The words hung between us, heavy with years of unspoken pain. The beach house, the bike, the trust fund, it was all part of a bigger truth, one that would change our family forever. And I wasn't done exposing it. The ocean roared outside, its waves a fitting backdrop to the chaos unfolding in the beach house. Lila's tears had stopped, replaced by a stunned silence, her eyes darting between Mom, Dad, and me as if she could piece together a truth that wouldn't break her. I stood firm, the letter still in my hand, its words a tether to the justice I'd been denied for years. But beneath my anger, a flicker of doubt crept in. Had I gone too far? Was this truth worth the wreckage it was causing? Emma, Dad said, his voice softer now, almost pleading. We didn't mean to hurt you. We thought we were protecting both of you. His words sounded hollow, a weak defense against the evidence I held. Protecting us. They protected their own guilt, their own lies, at the cost of my future. Protecting us. I echoed, my voice sharp. You protected Lila. You gave her everything, Grandma's money, this house, your love while I got a used bike and a lifetime of feeling like I didn't matter. I turned to Lila, who was staring at the floor, her hands twisted in her lap. Did you ever stop to think about what I was going through? Did you ever notice? Lila's head snapped up, her eyes red and raw. I didn't know, Emma. I didn't know about the trust fund or my dad. Her voice broke on the last word, and for a moment, I saw the weight of the truth settle on her. She wasn't just my sister anymore. She was a reminder of Mom's betrayal, of a family built on secrets. You didn't know because you didn't want to, I said, my voice quieter now, but no less firm. You loved being the favorite. You loved the attention, the gifts, the way they looked at you like you were perfect. But I was here too, Lila. I was working, struggling, while you got to live the life I was supposed to have. Mom's sobs broke the silence, her hands covering her face. Emma, I'm so sorry, she said, her voice muffled. We made mistakes. I made mistakes. But we love you both. Love. I laughed, a bitter sound that echoed in the room. Love doesn't look like this, Mom. Love doesn't mean stealing from one daughter to give to the other. Love doesn't mean lying about who her father is. I gestured at Lila, who flinched as if I'd struck her. Dad stepped forward, his face a mix of anger and desperation. Enough, Emma. You've said your piece. What do you want from us? Money. An apology. What? I stared at him, my heart pounding. What did I want? Justice? Revenge? Or just to be seen, for once, as someone who mattered? I want the truth, I said finally. All of it. No more lies. No more secrets. And I want you to admit what you did to me. Dad's shoulders sagged, and for the first time, he looked defeated. We made a mistake, he said, his voice low. The trust fund was meant for you, but we thought Lila needed it more. She was struggling, Emma. Her art school was expensive, and we didn't want her to feel less. Less, I repeated, incredulous. You thought she'd feel less because of who her father is. So you punished me instead. The unfairness of it burned, a fresh wound on top of years of scars. You took my future to make up for your mistakes. Lila stood suddenly, her chair scraping against the floor. Stop it, she shouted, her voice raw with emotion. Stop acting like I planned this. Emma, I didn't ask for any of it. Her hands were shaking, her face streaked with tears. You think I wanted to be the favorite? You think I wanted this lie? She gestured at the house, at Mom and Dad, at the wreckage of our family. I wanted to scream at her, to tell her she'd still benefited, that her ignorance didn't absolve her. But the pain in her eyes stopped me. For the first time, I saw her not as the golden child, but as someone caught in the same web of lies, just in a different way. Then what do you want, Lila? I asked, my voice softer now, because I'm done being the only one who pays for their mistakes. She hesitated, her eyes searching mine. I want to make it right, she said finally. I don't know how, but I want to try. Her words were tentative, fragile, but they were the first sign of something real between us in years. I didn't know if I could trust her. Not yet. But her offer was a crack in the wall that had divided us. A chance to rebuild something from the ashes. I turned to Mom and Dad, who were watching us, their faces etched with guilt. "And you?" I asked. "What are you going to do to make this right?" Mom wiped her tears, her voice trembling. "We'll pay you back, Emma. The trust fund. All of it. We'll find a way." Dad nodded, his jaw tight. "We'll sell the house if we have to. We'll make it right." It wasn't enough not yet, but it was a start. The truth was out, and the secrets were unraveling. But there was one more piece of the puzzle. One more question I needed answered. Who was Lila's real father? And why had Mom kept him a secret all these years? I wasn't ready to let that go. Not until every corner of this family's lies was exposed. The beach house felt smaller now, its grandeur diminished by the weight of the truths we'd uncovered. Lila stood trembling, her offer to make things right hanging in the air like a fragile promise. Mom and Dad's pledge to repay the trust fund was a step, but it didn't erase the years of betrayal or the question burning in my mind: who was Lila's real father? And why had they hidden him from us? I folded Grandma's letter and tucked it back into my pocket, my hands steady despite the storm inside me. "You owe us more than money," I said, my voice calm but unyielding. "You owe us the whole truth. Who is he? Mom, who's Lila's father?" Mom's face crumpled, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. She looked at Dad, then at Lila, her eyes pleading for forgiveness. "Emma, please," she whispered. "It's in the past. It doesn't matter now." "It matters to me," I said, my voice rising. "And it matters to Lila." I turned to my sister, who was staring at Mom with a mix of fear and desperation. "Don't you want to know? Don't you deserve to know who you are?" Lila's lips trembled, but she nodded, her voice barely audible. "Yes, I want to know." She looked at Mom, her eyes hardening. "Tell me, please." Dad put a hand on Mom's shoulder, his face a mask of pain. "Let it go, Emma," he said, but there was no strength in his voice. He knew this was inevitable, that the secrets they'd buried were clawing their way to the surface. Mom took a shaky breath, her hands twisting together. "His name was Michael," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. He was a musician. I met him at a concert, years ago, when your father was working long hours. I was lonely, and he was kind. And it just happened." She looked at Lila, her eyes full of regret. "I ended it before you were born. Lila, I chose this family. I chose your father." "Chose him?" I asked, my voice sharp. "You chose to lie to us. You chose to let Lila grow up thinking Dad was her father. And you chose to punish me for it." The words were harsh, but they were true. Every choice they'd made had built this house of lies, and I was done letting it stand. Lila's face was pale, her hands clenched into fists. "Did he know?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Did Michael know about me?" Mom hesitated, then shook her head. "No, I never told him. I didn't want to complicate things. I wanted you to have a stable life. With us." "Stable?" Lila laughed, a bitter sound that mirrored my own. "You called us stable. You gave me a beach house to make up for a lie, and you left Emma with nothing. How is that stable?" Her voice cracked, and she turned to me, her eyes full of pain. "I'm so sorry, Emma. I didn't know. I swear I didn't." I wanted to believe her, but the hurt was still too raw, too deep. "I know you didn't," I said, my voice softer now. "But that doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change the years I spent feeling like I wasn't enough." Dad stepped forward, his voice rough. "We'll make it right, Emma. We'll find a way to pay you back, to fix this. And Lila," he turned to her, his eyes softening. "You're still my daughter. That hasn't changed." Lila shook her head, tears streaming down her face. But it has. Dad, everything's changed. She looked at me, her expression raw and vulnerable. What do we do now? Emma, how do we fix this? I didn't have an answer. Not yet. The truth had torn us apart. But it had also cleared a path for something new, something honest. Maybe, if we could find a way forward. We start by being honest. I said finally. No more secrets. No more lies. And we figure out what's fair. Mom nodded, her face etched with guilt. We'll sell the house, she said, her voice trembling. We'll use the money to pay you back, Emma. And we'll tell you anything you want to know. It was a start, but it wasn't enough. Not yet. There was still one question left. One piece of the puzzle I needed to understand. What happened to Michael? I asked. Is he still out there? Does he deserve to know about Lila? Mom's eyes widened, and she looked at Dad, who shook his head. He's gone, Emma, Dad said, his voice low. He passed away years ago. A car accident. The words hit Lila like a blow, and she sank back onto the couch, her hands covering her face. I felt a pang of sympathy, but also a strange relief. At least that part of the story was closed. But the rest, the trust fund, the favoritism, the years of lies, was still an open wound. We're not done, I said, looking at each of them in turn. This family has a lot to answer for. But I'm not walking away until we figure it out. Together. The word felt foreign, but it was a start. The beach house, the bike, the secrets, they were all part of our story now. And I was ready to write the next chapter. One where I wasn't invisible anymore. The sun was setting now, casting a golden glow through the beach house's windows, softening the edges of the pane we'd laid bare. Lila sat quietly, her eyes red but dry, her hands folded in her lap like she was trying to hold herself together. Mom and Dad stood close, their faces weary, their guilt a tangible weight in the room. I stood apart, the papers still in my pocket, a reminder of the truth that had changed everything. We weren't a family anymore, not the one we'd been, but maybe we could be something new. Emma, Lila said, her voice soft but steady. I don't want the house. Not if it's built on your pain. Her words caught me off guard, and I looked at her, searching for the catch. But her eyes were sincere, her face stripped of the smugness I'd always resented. I'll give it up. We can sell it. Split the money. Whatever it takes. I blinked, the anger I'd clung to wavering. You'd do that? I asked, my voice cautious. You'd give up the beach house? She nodded, her lips trembling. I don't want to be the person you think I am. I don't want to be the favorite anymore. She looked at Mom and Dad, her expression hardening. And I don't want to be part of a lie. Mom's face crumpled again, but she didn't argue. Dad took a deep breath, his shoulders slumping. We'll do it, he said. We'll sell the house, pay back the trust fund, and we'll try to be better. For both of you. It wasn't a perfect fix. The years of favoritism, the lies about Lila's father, the stolen trust fund, they couldn't be erased with a sale or an apology. But it was a step, a chance to rebuild on honest ground. I looked at Lila, and for the first time in years, I saw not just the sister who'd taken everything, but the girl who was as lost in this mess as I was. Okay, I said finally, my voice steady. We sell the house. We split the money fairly. And we start over. I paused, looking at Mom and Dad. But you need to understand something. This isn't just about money. It's about trust. And that's going to take time. Mom nodded, tears in her eyes. We know, Emma. We'll do whatever it takes. Dad reached out, his hand hovering as if he wasn't sure I'd accept it. We're sorry, Emma. Truly. We should have done better by you. I didn't take his hand. Not yet. But I nodded, a small gesture of acknowledgement. Prove it, I said. Show me you mean it. Lila stood, her movements hesitant, and crossed the room to me. I'm sorry too, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I should have seen it. I should have asked why things were so unfair. I want to be your sister again, Emma, if you'll let me. Her words hit me harder than I expected, cracking the wall I'd built around my heart. I didn't know if I could forgive her. Not fully. Not yet. But I wanted to try. We'll see, I said, my voice soft but firm. One step at a time. The room was quiet now, the tension easing like a tide pulling back. The beach house, once a symbol of division, would soon be gone. It'd sail a chance to right some of the wrongs. The trust fund would be restored. But more than that, the truth was out. No more secrets. No more lies. Just us. Flawed and broken. But trying. As we stood there, the waves crashing outside, I felt a strange sense of hope. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't easy, but it was real. I looked at the bike leaning against the fence outside, its rusted frame a reminder of where I'd started. I wasn't that girl anymore, the one who accepted scraps and stayed silent. I was Emma, the one who'd fought for the truth, who'd demanded to be seen. Let's go home, I said, my voice steady. We've got a lot to figure out. We left the beach house together, the four of us, stepping into the fading light. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, it felt like we were walking it together. The bike, the house, the secrets, they were part of our story, but they didn't have to define it. Not anymore.